We left Denver 2 hours ago on a gloomy Friday afternoon, with another hour-s drive before reaching home. Karen and I had just dropped off our only son, Ethan, at his university campus to start his studies. I was behind the wheel of our weathered Toyota Tacoma, which we used instead of Karen's shiny Mercedes to haul all of Ethan's belongings. "Time sure does fly," Karen said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. It felt like just yesterday when Ethan graduated high school, and Karen found out she was expecting. Back then, I was still in college, studying to become an accountant. Both our parents had been incredibly supportive, understanding the depth of our relationship. After Ethan was born, Karen stayed with her parents until I graduated, and then we got married. Karen has been a stay-at-home mom ever since, watching me climb from a junior accountant to owning my own financial consulting firm over the past decade. My hard work secured significant clients, providing well for the family. "The house is going to feel so empty without him," I said, feeling a pang of sadness. "He's always been your little buddy," Karen replied. "But have you noticed how he's been acting lately? He's been so distant with me. Whenever you are around, he clings to you, but when you are not home, he shuts himself in his room and ignores me completely. Come on, Karen, he's still a kid. Senior year was tough for him, trying to get into Princeton." "Cut him some slack," I said, brushing off her worries. "I understand that, Ben, but the way he looks at me, it is like he resents me. Remember last month when he threw that lamp at me? I was scared out of my mind. He had such anger in his eyes," Karen said, her voice shaking. "You are overreacting, Karen," I snapped, unwilling to believe it. Karen fell silent, not wanting to argue further. She took out her phone and sent a text message. "We'll be there in 30 minutes. A moment later, her phone buzzed. "Is that from Ethan?" I asked. "No, it's Jenna. She's been venting about Brian working late nights and putting his job before her. She should have known being married to a police officer isn't easy. She should have thought it through," Karen said, changing the topic. As we pulled into the driveway, I noticed a police cruiser parked in front of our garage. I parked behind it and saw Brian, along with his partner, step out to greet me. "What's this about?" I asked, confused. Karen quickly moved to stand behind the officer, which I couldn't help but notice. "This is the part of my job I dread the most," Brian said, handing me a manila envelope. "Ben Carter, you have been served." "Brian, is this a prank?" I asked, my hand trembling as I took the envelope. I looked at Karen, but she avoided my gaze. "Why, Karen, what did I do?" "It is best if you leave now," Brian said firmly. "Get yourself a lawyer and start working on your divorce. There is also a restraining order. You can be near Karen or come within 500 feet of her." "Brian, just last weekend you and Jenna were at our cookout for Ethan's send-off," I said, my voice rising with anger. "You both knew what was going on. You came, ate, wished Ethan well, and left with smiles. That is pure hypocrisy." "Ben, please try to understand," Brian began. "Understand what, Brian? That you are betraying me?" I shouted. "And you, Karen, you deceived me. If you didn't love me anymore, you should have just told me. We could have separated amicably. The restraining order is already in effect. It's just best for you to go now," Brian said, maintaining his composure. I stormed over to my truck, angrily tossing the envelope onto the passenger seat. I slammed the door shut and then marched back to confront Brian. "I need my stuff. I hope you want to be a jerk and stop me from getting my things from the house." I took out my house key and headed toward the front door. "Your key won't work," Brian said, pulling out another set of keys from his pocket and handing them to his partner. "It seems you've thought of everything, or was it Jenna's idea?" I accused. "She probably arranged for a locksmith while we were away, didn't she?" Brian didn't respond, just nodded at his partner, who led me into the house and stood by as I packed 2 suitcases. "Don't worry," Brian reassured Karen. "I'll have my guys keep an eye on the place. It's not safe for you to be here alone for a while. Ben's really upset and might do something rash out of anger. I'll stay put." "I'll call a friend to come stay with me for the weekend," Karen said. "Yeah, a friend," Brian muttered under his breath. I brought out the suitcases and placed them in the back of the truck. The officer handed Karen the keys. I then opened the envelope and began reading the divorce papers. "Ben, you got your stuff. It's time to go, Brian instructed. Hold on. This woman wants half of my business, half of our savings, the house, her car, and monthly alimony, I exclaimed, my voice full of disbelief and anger. She's trying to take everything from me, I yelled, my voice shaking with fury. Brian, looking stern, warned me, Ben, if you don't leave now, I'll have to arrest you. His hand hovered over his handcuffs. Fine, I muttered, getting into the truck and driving away, my mind racing with a mix of anger and confusion. David, I'll sign these damn papers and get out of here, I muttered, grabbing a pen and angrily scrawling my name where needed. Emily, can you witness this and give me my copy? David and his colleague Janet were visibly taken aback. They never thought I'd comply so easily. Emily's face lit up with a triumphant grin. She had everything she wanted and was finally rid of me and our daughter. David signed off as a witness and handed me my copy. As I climbed into my old pickup truck, I demanded furiously, "Who is he? How long has this been going on?" "Go inside and lock the door," David instructed Emily before approaching my truck. Janet led Emily inside. "Think about Lily, John. Don't do anything reckless," David pleaded. "I regret ever marrying her," I yelled, starting the engine. "She wanted a divorce because she knew I wouldn't agree to her messed-up lifestyle." "What are you talking about, John?" David asked, bewildered. "Don't act clueless, David." "Everyone knows," I shot back. "What nonsense are you spouting?" David's voice grew louder. "Come on, David. It's no secret that when you are on night duty, your brother Mark is sneaking into your house. She's cheating on you, man. Sorry to break it to you. You, being a sheriff, should know when someone's lying." "Go home and confront Susan, you'll see," I said, reversing and speeding away from the property. Left alone, Emily poured herself a glass of bourbon and admired the expensive sculpture on the coffee table, worth a small fortune. "He left it here, his loss," she thought with a wicked grin. She picked up her phone and dialed Kevin's number. "Pick up, Kevin!" Emily yelled, frustrated before hanging up. "He was supposed to be here after his shift," she muttered, taking a seat and sipping her drink. The memory of their first encounter replayed in her mind. It had been a year since they met at a high-end art gallery. Young and stylish, he was instantly attractive. They exchanged numbers, and the next day he visited her during his break. He made her feel alive in a way I never did. I was always exhausted from work, spent my evenings helping Lily with homework before crashing into bed, leaving Emily unsatisfied. Emily, now on her third glass of bourbon, tried calling Kevin again, only to get the same unavailable message. Frustrated, she threw her phone onto the couch and turned on the TV but couldn't focus. She decided to take a long shower, recalling the intense memory of Kevin indulging her wildest desires. He made it clear she was his. She even had a key to his penthouse, cleaned it, showered him with gifts, and let him drive her Lexus. "Oh, God, I need him now." "I am so turned on," Emily muttered. She couldn't remember the last time she'd been intimate with me. 3 months, 6, or even longer, it didn't matter. She had Kevin, a real man who could satisfy her. They could be together now without worry. She was free, and he would move in with her that evening. After her shower, Emily returned to the living room, grabbed her phone, and cursed again. "Where are you, Kevin? Why won't you answer?" Frustrated, she went to the kitchen to prepare a light dinner. Damn, if I could leave, I'd drive to his place. Then the TV caught her attention. She rushed back, turned up the volume, and watched in horror as David, handcuffed, was led to a police car. "Sheriff David Williams arrested for the murder of his wife and brother," the news anchor reported. Emily switched off the TV, shocked. "Oh, Susan, I warned you," she cried. That night she couldn't sleep. She felt utterly alone. Her husband was gone, her lover unreachable, her best friend dead, her daughter distant, and her parents deceased. The only one left was her sister, who lived 300 miles away with her husband, Mark. Saturday came with still no word from Kevin. She felt anxious and frustrated. He could at least leave a message, she thought. Sunday morning, she decided to drive to Kevin's penthouse. As soon as she entered, she knew something was wrong. The place was stripped bare, electronics gone, closets and bathroom empty. She collapsed onto the bed. He's gone. "He left without a word," Emily sobbed. "How could he do this? He was the one who pushed for the divorce and moving in together, getting married after it was final. She left the penthouse and drove to the art gallery, hoping to find him. Instead, a co-worker told her Kevin had left Friday morning to retrieve his belongings and never returned. Later, he resigned via email. Emily walked to her car, tears streaming. "Why did he do this to me?" she sobbed. On her way home, she stopped at a gas station and was stunned to find both her credit and debit cards declined. Frustrated, she paid with her last bit of cash. At home, she drowned her sorrows in alcohol. Monday morning, she went to the bank. The manager told her there was less than $5 left in her joint account, Mrs. Michelson. "Your husband closed your joint accounts last Friday?" the bank manager explained. "He informed us of your separation and stated he wouldn't be responsible for the mortgage or car payments anymore. That's impossible. My car was paid off, and the house mortgage should have been settled," Emily protested, her voice rising in frustration. "We have documents showing a car loan and a second mortgage on the house for your daughter's university fees," the manager replied calmly. "But why is there no money?" Emily asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "Your account was debited for the mortgage, and there have been no deposits for 3 months. The funds have been used up," the manager explained. "What about my husband's business? There should be monthly transfers from the company S account," Emily insisted, her voice growing more frantic. The bank manager shook his head sympathetically. "I am sorry, Mrs. Michelson, but I can't disclose any details about Mr. Michelson's accounts or business matters. If you don't make the upcoming mortgage payment, your house and car could be repossessed." "But I don't have a job," Emily cried, her voice trembling. "You should discuss this with your lawyer," the manager suggested firmly. Feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders, Emily checked the safe deposit box she shared with Robert. To her dismay, only her jewelry remained. She grabbed it all and stuffed it into her handbag. Outside the bank, she tried calling Robert's cell phone, but it was disconnected. Growing more frantic, she called his work number, but it just rang endlessly. Frustrated and feeling cornered, she dialed Jessica's number. "What do you want, Emily?" Jessica spat out venomously. "Is that how you talk to your mother?" Emily asked, stunned by the hostility. "How else should I talk to you? You dumped Dad like he was nothing. I am done with you. Don T, call me again." "I am changing my number," Jessica shot back. The line went dead before Emily could respond. Emily sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel, her mind racing. Why had Kevin vanished without a trace? Where had her plan gone wrong? Desperate for answers, she called her lawyer and secured a same-day appointment for late afternoon. When she arrived at her lawyer's office, he greeted her with a grave expression. "Mrs. Michelson, after your call this morning, we investigated your husband's company. He filed for bankruptcy last Thursday, just before you served him with divorce papers. The company is likely to be dissolved." Emily felt the ground shift beneath her. "But you told me I could get millions," she exclaimed, panic rising in her chest. "Please, Mrs. Michelson, try to stay calm. 2 weeks ago, there were no signs of financial trouble. Everything seemed to be in your favor. But now, the company's bank account is frozen," the lawyer explained. "And what about the car and the house mortgage?" Emily asked, feeling the walls close in. "Last week, your husband used your house as collateral for another loan before being served. Regarding the car, when you signed the ownership documents, you also unknowingly signed for a loan in your name," the lawyer said. "This can't be true," Emily cried out, feeling betrayed. "Mrs. Michelson, may I ask you a personal question? Do you think your husband knew he was about to be served?" the lawyer asked. Emily thought for a moment. "No, he never saw it coming," she said, taking a deep breath. "So, if I understand correctly, I want to get a penny from my husband's company. I have no money in the bank and my car and house will be taken away?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm afraid so," the lawyer confirmed. "Is there any way to make him pay the mortgage at least?" Emily pleaded. "His company was his sole source of income. Now that it is gone, he's penniless. Once he finds a job, we can seek alimony. We had some investment certificates, but I couldn't find them in our safe deposit box," she said. "We'll investigate when he cashed those certificates and thoroughly examine his company. We also need to locate your husband. His legal advisor is handling everything, the lawyer explained. Please proceed, Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. One more thing, Mrs. Michelson. These extra services will incur additional costs. How will you cover the expenses, the lawyer asked. Emily hadn't considered the financial implications, but then remembered something. I have a valuable painting. Great. Sell it and write us a check so we can get started, the lawyer suggested. No problem. I'll call you soon, Emily agreed. One last thing, Mrs. Michelson. In the worst-case scenario, be prepared to leave your house. You should start looking for a new place to live, the lawyer advised. At home, Emily sat in front of the painting. I wanted to keep you, but because of my husband, we have to part ways, she whispered to the artwork. Then she called her sister. Hey, sis, I need a favor, Emily began. You know I'll do anything for you, her sister replied. Robert and I are divorcing, Emily said, her voice breaking. What? Is this some kind of joke? Her sister asked, shocked. No, sis, it is complicated. I'll need a place to stay temporarily. Can I stay in your guest room? I'll explain everything when we meet, Emily pleaded. What about Jessica? Her sister asked. How is she taking it? Lily is definitely Daddy-esque girl, Sarah sighed, worry evident in her voice. I am the one who gets the blame. Is there any chance you two can work things out? Maybe see a counselor? Her sister suggested gently. I doubt it. Thanks for the offer, though. I don't think Tom would mind, and our daughter would be thrilled to have you stay with us for a while, her sister offered. Thanks, sis. I'll keep you posted on when I'll be there, Sarah replied, ending the call. On Tuesday, she visited a jeweler to appraise her jewelry. To her dismay, she was informed that all her pieces were gold-plated copper and of low quality. She cursed John for giving her fake gifts. Then she rushed to an art gallery to meet with an appraiser. I am curious about the value of my Van Gogh painting, Starry Night, Sarah inquired. The appraiser examined the painting meticulously. This piece is considered one of Van Gogh's masterpieces. It captures a range of emotions through its swirling patterns and vibrant colors, he explained, placing the painting on an easel and illuminating it with a spotlight. After a few minutes, he chuckled. Is something wrong? Sarah asked, feeling uneasy. Let me show you something, the appraiser said, fetching his laptop. He pulled up a website and displayed a picture of Starry Night, zooming in on the signature. You see here, there is a distinct signature by Van Gogh. Okay, I see that. So what? Sarah asked, confused. Now look at the same scene in your painting, he said, handing her the magnifying glass. Sarah looked closely and felt her heart sink. In yours, the signature is misspelled. It is a forgery, the appraiser confirmed. Oh my God, Sarah gasped, sinking into a chair, feeling utterly defeated. I can offer you 100. I'll hang it in the gallery for educational purposes, the appraiser said sympathetically. Sarah accepted the offer and left, feeling shattered. Her phone rang and she saw it was her sister calling. Hi, sis, Sarah answered, trying to mask her misery. Dante, call me sis, you witch, an angry voice yelled at her. What? Why? Sarah stammered. Tom got an email from some stranger. It was sent to everyone we know. It is a link to a website with videos of you with some guy dating back to a year ago and up until last week. How could you do this? 2. Sarah tried to explain, but the voice on the other end cut her off. You did it in your bed and in some cheap motel room. I don't need an explanation. You are disgusting. Tom doesn't want you near us. He says you will ruin our family. Her sister's voice was furious. Sarah was left in stunned silence, her world crumbling around her. We don't want you here. Go to your lover. The call ended abruptly, leaving Sarah's face pale with shock. Oh my God, they found out. They've known all along, she whispered to herself, realizing her secret was no longer safe. Panic set in as she thought, everyone must know. I need to leave now. 5 years later, I sat in the front row of a beachside resort, reflecting on the unexpected call I had received that morning. I decided to keep it to myself, not wanting to overshadow Lily's big day. I had just walked my daughter down the sandy aisle and now watched as she exchanged vows with her college sweetheart. Memories of a distressing day 5 years ago flooded back. I was in my office when Lily's tearful voice broke through the silence. "Dad, please come home," she cried. "What's wrong, honey? Why are you crying?" I asked, my heart racing. "Just come, Dad. I am waiting outside the house," she pleaded urgently. "Why outside? What's happening? Should I call your mom?" Worry clouded my thoughts. "No, don't call her. Just hurry, Dad," Lily insisted. "I am on my way, sweetheart." As I drove home, anxiety gnawed at me. Why wasn't she at school? Why was she outside the house? Was she hurt? My mind spun with questions. I almost ran a red light in my haste, forcing myself to stay calm. Lily had been working on a project late into the night, and we had saved everything on a USB flash drive. She was waiting 1 block away when I pulled up. She climbed into the car quickly. "Please, Don, to go to the house, Dad," she begged. "Okay, Lily, tell me what's going on," I said, shutting off the engine. "I forgot my USB drive this morning. I got special permission during lunchtime to come home and pick it up. When I got there, I saw an old Honda in our driveway. I went inside and heard noises coming from your room. I quietly walked up the stairs and peeked inside. The door was slightly open," Lily explained, tears streaming down her face. "Okay, sweetheart, take a deep breath," I said, trying to soothe her. "Take your time. I saw Mom with another man. They were in bed together. She's been unfaithful to you, Dad." "To us," Lily sobbed. I was stunned, realizing my 17-year-old daughter had witnessed something no child should. "Are you sure about what you saw?" I asked gently. "I recorded it on my phone," she replied, showing me the video. "My world came crashing down as I saw and heard Sarah in our bedroom. Dad, please get her out of the house. I don't want to see her anymore. She's not my mom." "My real mom wouldn't do this," Lily cried. "I need to think this through," I said, trying to keep calm. "I haven't been on a date since my husband died," Karen admitted, her voice tinged with sadness. "I understand," Robert replied softly. "I hope you enjoyed yourself tonight." "I did," she said with a small smile. "Can we do this again sometime?" "We worked together and you were still married," Karen reminded him gently. She kissed him on the cheek and added, "Let's take things one step at a time." With that, she went inside her house. Meanwhile, Robert persuaded Emily to trade in her car, though she was reluctant because she was attached to her Lexus. However, when he suggested that a flashy sports car would make her look younger, she agreed enthusiastically. Since the Lexus was fully paid off, Robert sold it for cash. He then took out a car loan for the BMW, putting everything in Emily S.'s name. Emily, thinking she was only signing the ownership certificate, was unaware that the documents also included ones that would later cause her significant trouble. A few weeks later, Robert noticed something unsettling. After being intimate, Emily would go to the bathroom and Kevin would sneak out of their bedroom and head to Lily S.'s room. Robert brought this to Lily S.'s attention, and she was furious. They decided to install a camera in her room. What they discovered was disturbing. Kevin was stealing Lily S.'s underwear. That same afternoon, while Emily was sitting on the couch, Lily approached her from behind with a knife. If Robert hadn't intervened at that moment, Lily might have seriously hurt Emily. Later that evening, Lily told her father she wouldn't have been imprisoned for harming Emily because she was still a minor. Robert wasn't shocked when he overheard Kevin convincing Emily to divorce him and take everything he had. But what Kevin and Emily didn't know was that Robert was already ahead of them. He knew Emily often let Kevin drive the BMW and that they were intimate in the back seat. He also knew when Emily consulted a divorce lawyer, recommended by David, and was aware the lawyer would scrutinize his company and assets. After waiting a couple of days, Robert took out a second mortgage on his house to cover Lily S.'s full tuition fees. The next day, he filed for bankruptcy, timing it so that Susan would change the locks on their house while they were away in Seattle during the barbecue party the weekend before Lily left for college. Both Robert and Lily executed their roles flawlessly. David and Susan acted as if nothing was wrong, with David even helping to grill meat. No one suspected they were plotting against them. On Friday morning, while Emily was in the bathroom, Robert grabbed her phone and sent a message to Kevin. "I'll be at your place by 8. I want you to do me in the backside before I say goodbye for good. Hurry home and get ready to screw, babe. I'll tell them I need to run errands. Dante call or text back. I'll leave my phone at home in case they check. Catch you later, my future hubby." After sending the text, Robert erased it and slipped the phone back into Emily S.'s purse. Kevin had no idea what was coming. As soon as he walked into his apartment, 3 men ambushed him, beating him until he agreed to resign via email. They forced him to tell his landlord he was moving out. After drugging him, they ransacked his place, removing all the spy cameras and taking anything valuable, making it look like Kevin had fled. They wrapped him up, loaded him into a van, and he vanished without a trace. Robert kept the whole operation a secret, intending to take the truth to his grave, even keeping it from Lily and Karen. On Friday afternoon, after being served divorce papers, Robert checked into a motel, laughing to himself as he watched the evening news. One of the men from Kevin S.'s apartment stopped by, handed over all the spy cameras, and collected his payment. No words were exchanged. The man didn't mention where Kevin S.'s body was buried either. On Saturday morning, Robert discarded his old phone, got a new one, and shared his new number with Lily. He then went to Karen S.'s house, spending the entire day going through and editing the video footage, meticulously blurring out Kevin S.'s face to ensure no one could identify him if he turned up missing. He stayed in the guest room building a bond with Karen S.'s son. Robert and Karen were now ready for the final phase of their plan, involving an elderly couple from San Francisco who would buy the company. This couple turned out to be Karen S. relatives, ensuring that no staff member would lose their job. By Monday, every detail was in place, ready for the big reveal. Lily called, saying that Emily was on the hunt for him. They both had a good laugh about it. Later, Robert uploaded all the incriminating videos to a raunchy site using a fake email and sent the link to everyone they knew, including Emily S.'s brother-in-law. Robert stayed at Karen S.'s place for the next 3 months while his divorce was finalized. They continued dating, but Karen insisted they keep things strictly PG. She made it clear that there would be no touching until Robert was officially single. Robert agreed to honor his marriage vows until the end. Living at Karen S. had its benefits. If anyone inquired about his situation, Robert could truthfully say he was flat broke and crashing at Karen S. until he got back on his feet. On the day of the court hearing, Emily didn't show up. With the house and her car already repossessed and Robert being jobless and penniless, the judge granted the divorce quickly, without any spousal support or asset division. Emily S.'s lawyer didn't contest the decision. After the hearing, Robert crossed paths with Emily S.'s lawyer in the hallway. "You are quite the strategist, Mr. Anderson," the lawyer remarked. "Am I?" Robert responded with a furrowed brow before walking off. Back in the present, Robert S.'s daughter tugged on his sleeve. "Dad, pay attention." "Oh, sorry, sweetie. What were you saying?" "It's time for the father-daughter dance," Lily beamed. "And everyone's is watching, but you're not moving," Lily teased, her voice breaking into Robert S.'s thoughts. "My mind was somewhere else, princess." Robert took his daughter S.'s hand, spun her around, and they began dancing to the music. When the song ended, Lily said, "Now I've got to dance with Mom, and I promised my little brother he'd be next." She smiled. Robert watched her go before approaching Karen and asking her to dance. Later, he went to the bar and ordered a whiskey. As he sat down, his thoughts drifted back to a phone call he had received earlier that morning in his bedroom. "Good morning, Mr. Anderson. I am Dr. James Carter from Dallas, Texas. It's about your ex-wife." "What is wrong with my ex-wife?" Robert asked, puzzled. "Emily was in the next room right now. I mean Sarah Anderson," the doctor clarified. Robert hadn't heard that name in 5 years. He sank onto the bed. "Go on, doctor. I am a psychologist treating Sarah in her final days, doctor," Carter explained. "She wanted me to reach out to you." "Her final days?" Robert echoed, bewildered. "Yes, Mr. Anderson. Do you have a few minutes for me to explain the situation briefly?" "Yes, go ahead," Robert said, bracing himself. "Your ex-wife shared her life story with me from her childhood to when you met. She said you were the only man she loved until she met Kevin, a big mistake she regrets. She talked about planning the divorce and what came after. She believes you knew about the affair and set her up. She's come to terms with losing you and your daughter because she knows she was in the wrong. After the divorce, she left town with only $200, hoping to escape everything. especially after the videos of her affairs surfaced. She ended up in Texas, working as a waitress at a bar by Interstate 20, mostly frequented by truckers. The owner gave her a cheap room in exchange for favors. After a year, she became pregnant and had to resort to a risky termination without proper medical care. Later, the owner forced her into prostitution. She contracted severe STDs and AIDS. Now she is very sick and knows she's dying. Her last wish is to see you before she passes away. I am really sorry to hear that, doctor. My daughter is getting married today. I'll reach out to you next week. Don't wait too long, Mr. Anderson. Here is my direct line number. Back at the wedding, Karen hugged Robert and gave him a sweet kiss. Hey, honey, take it easy on the drinks. You're driving us home later. You mean the world to me, darling, Robert said, pushing his glass aside. I'd never risk your safety or our son S. Let us hit the dance floor. I want to feel you close. Karen whispered, I love you. They joined the dancers, holding each other tightly. A few days later from his office, Robert called Dr. Carter to say he couldn't make the trip south due to his heavy workload. The doctor suggested Robert speak to Sarah over the phone. He connected the call to her hospital ward, where a nurse brought the phone to Sarah S.'s bedside. Robert, is that you? Sarah S.'s voice was barely audible. Yes, Sarah, it's me. Oh, Robert, Sarah S.'s voice broke into tears. I'm sorry, Robert, truly sorry for what I put you and our family through. Now I'm facing the consequences. I have forgiven you, Sarah. I have moved forward with my life, and I am happy. Robert paused, taking a deep breath. I actually owe you thanks. After our divorce, I married an amazing woman, and we have a son together. Lily considers her a mom, and they have a great relationship. By the way, Lily got married last Saturday. The wedding was beautiful, and her mom made sure everything was perfect. We were both looking forward to being called grandparents. Robert could hear Sarah sobbing on the other end. There was a commotion in the background of Sarah S.'s hospital room. He waited patiently until a frantic voice interrupted. Mr. Anderson, I am Nurse Emily. I am sorry, but I have to end the call. The line went silent. Robert glanced at the family photo on his desk, smiling to himself. He who laughs last laughs best, he murmured.